Well, I went down to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
Hey, good Friday morning to you. A time now for Home Repairs and Solutions with Mark and Mary, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air Heating and Air Conditioning, your local Amana dealer. And now here are your hosts, Mary Pearson and Mark Withers. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Dan.
Good to see you.
Morning,
Beautiful
Dan.
day.
Good to see you. It is a gorgeous day. The sun's shining. I love it.
You know, I was really hoping that the temperature would get up warm enough to get the motorcycle out. So far, it's not looking like it's going to, but the sunshine makes one big difference.
Maybe this weekend.
Yeah, I
maybe.
hope.
Yeah.
That's what I'm shooting for.
I think it'll happen this weekend. You can be out puttering around on that Harley soon.
That'd be great.
Did you get your lights hung up?
I did.
Oh,
I
my
did.
goodness. Way to go.
I got pretty little LED Christmas lights all over the house, and yeah.
Okay, well, looks like you got your honeydew list done, so you should get to go for a ride.
I'm ready. I need a motorcycle ride real bad. Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to happen for you this weekend.
Well, thank you, Mary. I
Alrighty.
appreciate your being positive there.
Well, you know, this is going to be a fun day. First of all, we're going to be drawing the winner of the free furnace today.
Yes, we are.
And that has been a fun promotion. We've had some very nice folks come by, some of our listeners, and come by and donate some food for Crosslines, which we will be taking to them. I'm going to take that down after the show today. And some lucky person is going to win a new furnace for Christmas today. So I'm excited about that.
That would be great.
We'll be doing that a little bit later on in the show. So
I was just really disappointed that I couldn't put my name in the drawing there, but you know.
I'm really sorry, Mark, but we'll come up with something fun for you to do.
Okay.
At some point. Maybe, I don't know what.
Okay, we'll think on that.
You could always buy me a Christmas present.
There you go. I'll go do that after the show today, Mary.
Or not, whatever.
I would. If you know, I'd definitely buy you a Christmas present.
That makes me a little nervous, but we'll see.
Just so you will tell everybody on air what I get you.
That's what makes me nervous, Mark.
That's what I figured. Yeah. You know me well, Mary.
I think we'll pass on that, but thank you anyway.
Anytime.
All righty. But today we do have a really interesting guest, I think, for everyone
Yes,
to
we
listen
do.
to today. It's a gentleman that I was able to meet through my husband knows him, and we've been wanting to have someone on the show. You know, this time of year, unfortunately,
Yes.
with all the good things that happen, there are sometimes some bad things that happen, and one of the things that happens is we have home break-ins and invasions and different things
Yes,
like
we
that.
do.
So we've been wanting to get someone on the air to talk about home security, and we have that person with us today. His name is Sam Blaine, and he's with Atlas Security, and so we're glad to have you on the show, and welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Just thought that we would start out maybe a little bit. I don't know. I know several people have home securities. There's probably a lot that don't. There's a lot of question about home securities. What's the best one? How do they work? You know, what do I need to do? How do you put them in? I mean, all kinds of things. So that's why we have Sam here, because he is the expert on that.
That's right.
And we're going to let him answer all those pertinent questions.
And you know, another neat thing about Sam being here is the fact, just the name, Atlas Security. Atlas has been around for many, many years, and they're well-known, trusted people in our community.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of the things that's kind of interesting how all that started, and if you would just take a minute and let everyone know how the company started and what your relationship is to the business.
Sure. Well, actually, my wife's grandfather, Marvin Britton, started Atlas Security in 1962. So next year's our 50th year in business. Which
Oh my
we're
gosh!
super.
Congratulations!
really proud of that. For a local family-owned and operated company to kind of go up against the big dogs and able to compete and do that, I think is fantastic, and we're doing great. And one thing that's interesting story about Atlas is that Marvin started the company, but he was the owner, he was the janitor, he was the salesman, he was the installer, he was everything when he started Atlas, and he had a vision, and it just carried on. And what's really neat about Marvin is back then there wasn't really any product available that he really liked, basically. So he started developing his own product at his home. And that's how smart of a man that he was. I mean, he was a brilliant businessman, but at the same time, he understood technology.
Right.
He designed a company and developed a company called DMP, which stands for Digital Monitoring Products, and that was founded in 1975. And so it took him a little while to get that up and going and created, but now that's a Springfield-run manufacturing company that's still in existence today that we buy all of our security product from. So it's all developed and designed right here in Springfield, Missouri of the United States. So that's a little building over here off of Kearney and 65. It's about 100,000 square feet. They've got about 225 employees, and they now have over 1,000 dealers like us, as a security company. So they're a very large manufacturing company, and they're also just a huge player in the security world. A lot of people think, oh man, a manufacturing company in Springfield, it's got to be small town.
Right.
It's not. They're specified in 8 of the largest nationwide banks. Of the 13 largest, they're specified in 8 of those. So that's how big a player they are in the security industry. If they're in banks, that's serious.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And so that's just a little bit of the kind of the history, I guess, of Atlas and DMP. It's all family still, and Atlas and DMP are 2 separate companies, but we work very well together, and I'm very proud to be a part of that.
Actually started out years and years ago too in the communications.
Yeah.
And the reason I remember this is my uncle Russ had one of the very first. It wasn't a cell phone, but it was through Atlas. It was he was in construction, a contractor. I thought this was the coolest thing in the world because he had this phone in his truck, it's like a radio.
Right.
He would call into Atlas, tell them the phone number he needed to talk to, and they would dial it, and you can hear all that going on over the radio. That was the first time I became aware of Atlas, and that was, I don't know, that was in the 70s at least.
Sure.
And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, and that was all within the same building, too, because originally there were 3 companies. And that's what's interesting about Marvin is that he created Atlas Security, DMP, and then Atlas Communications, which is kind of a third prong of that, which did the cell phones, and then eventually got into paging and internet and things like that. Well, with economy and with some of the things, Atlas Communications eventually kind of shut their doors because there were too many, AT&T and some of the big dogs.
Right.
But the owner of Atlas Communications actually now works for DMP when they closed, and so it's still family that's moved over to there, and that's very interesting. But yeah, it's all part of the same kind of Atlas family is what it was. So,
wow, that's cool.
See, I think a lot of small business start out that way, where someone has a dream that they want to be self-employed and that they want to do something with their life, and they start out and they do wear all the hats. And so I'm sure a lot of other companies here in the area have started that way. Some of the guests we've had on the show, some of their businesses are at that level now, but they have a dream to grow and develop their company. But how neat to know that started right here in Springfield. And not only are you a thriving company still and are going to celebrate your 50 years in business, but you also employ so many people that we have a very prominent manufacturing company right here in Springfield, Missouri.
Right.
And, a lot of the manufacturing has left this country, which is really sad. So to have one that started here and is still here 50, that is just, I think that is the neatest thing.
Yeah.
I think that's great, and I would imagine probably a lot of our listeners weren't aware of that.
Oh no, a lot of people don't know about
Sure.
the fact that that's all made here, and Atlas and DMP are 2 separate companies. We have about 50 employees at Atlas, composed of salesmen, installers, our central station, things like that. DMP now is pushing over 225. So total, we almost employ 300 people, through the 2 companies combined. But yeah, anytime I mention DMP, a lot of people haven't heard that. So I really love to be able to take the time and tell kind of the family history there. It's really important to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now, when we're talking about security, most of the time we talk about things for the residential home on the show. But not only you don't only do residential, but you also are in the commercial, like you mentioned, with banks, so that you can encompass any type of business or home or anything that has a security issue or might have some sort of concern about security, where they might need some sort of a monitoring system. or something that would help them, have a little more peace of mind. So one of the things, do you know, this time of year, do you tend to get more people calling in just because of what goes on around Christmas and the more breaking and stuff? Do you have a time that's more busy than other times? And I would think that maybe this time of year would be real active for you guys.
Yeah, it is. We see an increase in crime around this time of year. People are traveling, They've bought a bunch of things and they're sitting in the house when they're gone, So, yeah, we definitely see an increase because it's kind of this time of need sometimes around this time of year. So definitely there's different parts of the year. It kind of fluctuates, but we definitely do see an increase, right now in some of the business that we do.
When you do, when you're doing your systems and you put them in the house, and like for instance, you've brought some of your products so Mark and I could look at them, but you have a monitor thing that kind of sits on the wall, and I imagine goes through a phone line. Is that how it works?
Well, that's a good point. If you would have said that back in 1989, then yeah, that's exactly how it worked. And even back then, they had backup cell. But the most common thing today, 2011, and it's actually since a couple of years ago, but now it's becoming almost a standard practice. We use cellular. And so phone line's kind of the old way, which we still do that. But it's very rare now that if we did like a new installation, for example, in your home, we would probably recommend cellular because most homeowners today aren't putting in phone lines, or they're switching to these things like AT&T UVerse, a lot of IP internet-based type of phones. Those don't work with traditional landline dialer type systems of the past. So what we're using is cellular, and it's also much more secure and it's more cost effective. And just to give you an example of myself, my wife and I, like everybody, you probably lay out the bills on your kitchen table and you're trying to figure out what can we get rid of, how can we save some money here and there. Certainly. And, we basically looked at our phone line and we're like, do we even use that? No, I don't think we do. And my wife said, well, how much is it? And she goes, she said, I think it's about $19 a month. I said, well, that sounds about right, but let's get it out and be sure. Well, after surcharges and taxes and fees and everything, it was approaching $40 for a basic landline phone, no call waiting, no caller ID, no frills. And so we eliminated $40 a month. I switched over my personal alarm system and added cellular instead of the dialer monitoring. And it's about $10. A good average cost is about $10 per month. And so I got rid of 40, added 10. I'm saving $30 a month.
Yeah,
and it's more secure because, as you know or may not know, a burglar can come up to your home and they can cut your landline. That's all that it takes. Go to the outside of the house, find the landline, and clip that. That's why people do need cell backup at least, but even cell primary is becoming more and more popular. So it is more secure, it's more cost effective, and so that's been a real popular thing. And kind of going into that cellular, one of the more popular things is being able to arm your system remotely. Most people these days are real familiar with texting. They use texting every day now to communicate with one another.
Sure.
Well, now, because we have cellular for our systems, we can now text our alarm system. So you can now send a text message to your home alarm asking it to arm, and it'll send you a text message back saying the system has been armed by Mark and at 9:30 a.m.
Wow.
And so
That's
it's
cool.
very, very cool. And it'll send you notifications, too, if there's an alarm, if there's a low battery, if there's loss of power, things like that. And so that's becoming very, very popular. And just to paint you a picture, here's what happens with most folks that don't have texting in a traditional setting with an alarm. You'd go to your keypad, and you'd arm your system, and then you leave the house. Well, that's great if you can remember that every time, and sometimes, like most of us, are busy and you're running out with the kids going to the grocery store or something. And so what we can do with the texting is my wife and I will leave the house and we'll say, did you arm the system? Well, I don't know. I can't remember. And so you just send it a text, and you're 5 miles down the road, and no big deal. You're not having to turn around and go back and arm that system from the keypad. So it's a convenience thing, too.
Well, a lot of us will think, oh, gosh, I'm just going to run down to the grocery store. I'll just be gone 10 minutes. I'm not going to worry about it. Hey, 10 minutes is all it takes for somebody to come in and clean your valuables out.
Sure.
And they may not, carry out the big TV set, but all your jewelry and stuff like that, a person could grab in just a couple minutes and be gone.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great idea.
And it's sad, but not to scare anyone, but usually what happens is a lot of times someone's watching. They're watching.
Sure.
They see you leave, and as soon as they see you leave, and then something happens. So it does happen in that 10 to 15 minute time period, and it's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, Springfield. I was born and raised here, and as a kid, you don't think about locking your doors. Your parents really didn't tell you to in Springfield, Missouri. It's just kind of this safe place to be, and unfortunately, it's times now where you got to be careful, and lock up and arm your system and watch for your neighbors and things like that. So
that's right.
It's a real bittersweet thing for me because this is where I grew up. So I see this crime, increasing, and it's good for our business, obviously, but the sad part is I get to see and hear about all these people's stories that they have. And but I can go to sleep at night because I can help kind of provide that peace of mind to them. So that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, that's right. Very important. If you got a question for Sam, give us a call, 862-9977, 1-800-375-0056. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. It's a free call.
It is.
And there's not much free anymore.
There's not a whole lot free anymore.
There's
you
not,
got that right,
you
Mary.
can always call and talk to us for free.
What you get in return may not be worth much more than free, but it is free.
But we'll try and put a smile on your face and make you have a good day.
That's
so
right.
You can give us a
we
call.
Will. That is true. We will do that. So, well, the wireless and the cell technology is just tremendous in this industry, like what you're doing. I can see how it would give somebody such a peace of mind, to know that they can take care of their system. If they forget to turn on. I mean, I'd hate to be halfway to St. Louis and realize I didn't set my security. Whoops. So pick up the phone and you text it and bam, it's on.
Yep.
And also the fact that you get the alerts and stuff sent to your phone.
Yeah.
I think that when it texts you back and tells you it's armed is amazing.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not only do you send it the text, but you get a response so that you know that it actually worked and that now your house is secure. So what a cool thing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and during the day, I'll get a text that says, armed by Natalie. My wife, Natalie, will arm the system or disarm the system, and I get notification of that, which is nice. I got a text the other day. It said alarm on the garage overhead door. And, I'm going to get a call from Atlas in a few seconds, but what I usually do first is I call Natalie immediately because I get that text message within, a second of it going off. And so I'll call her and be like, are you okay? Oh, yeah, I just opened the door, or something. But it gives me that quicker notification. If you didn't have that texting, you'd be waiting just a hair longer, and sometimes it's nice to know, to check on. One thing for those alerts, too, people use that's been real popular is they use it for their kids. Kids get home.
Oh, yeah,
school,
when your kids
they disarm
home.
the system. You got a 13, 14, 15-year-old kid. They get home from school, and so Drew gets home from school. He disarms the system. You get a text at work says disarmed by Drew. He came in.
He came in.
And so that's nice. And then you can even train your kids, well, when you get in, go ahead and arm it back. And if they didn't arm it back, you can arm it from your phone.
Yeah.
And kind of secure him in there if you wanted to. So it's pretty neat.
Oh, it is. That's really neat.
That is neat. When let's say, for instance, that you've put one of these systems on and something does happen, whether you're home or not, and the alarm goes off and it is an issue where someone's trying to break in.
Yeah.
How does all that work? Does it call Atlas and then do you call the police or how does all of this?
What's the procedure?
How do you get everybody there that's supposed to be there in a timely manner?
Right. What happens is the alarm goes off, and then actually it uses whatever communication path it's using, whether it's the dialer that I mentioned earlier, or one thing I didn't mention is we do network as well. So if they have high-speed internet, we can use that. And then cellular is probably, like I said, the most popular. So it uses one of those three paths. And then so cellular is probably the quickest. It actually sends that signal. It comes up on our screens, and so it basically sends that signal into a receiver, which is in our central station. It then translates that over to a screen in front of the operator. And so it'd come up and it would say, Mary Pearson at 123 Main Street, front door alarm, 9:30 a.m. And so we'd have very specific information that comes up on our screen. And so once that happens, then our operator, a call list pops up that you would have given us previously.
Okay.
And so we're required by UL to make 2 phone calls before we dispatch. That's just the rule. And so we would call, say you didn't have a home phone, say like most people don't. We would maybe your cell phone number is the first one on the list. We would call you first. If there's no answer, we would then call your husband, maybe. If he's second on the list, we'd call his cell phone. And say we didn't reach either of you.
Okay.
We're going to assume that that's a real alarm, and we're going to dispatch after that second call. Now, we're going to continue to go down that call list to contact someone to let them know. So say your uncle or your neighbor or someone's next on the list. So we get a hold of Steve, and we say, hey, Steve, we've dispatched to the Pearson home. We just need to let you know what's going on, because we can't reach, Mary or Paul. And so that's kind of the procedure. Now, if we did get a hold of you and say it was a false alarm and you said, oh, I just let the dog out, and so the operator, the next thing they'll say, well, what's your password? And you'll say, oh, it's banana, or whatever you've come up with.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Right. I've heard some weird ones.
I'll bet.
But sometimes people have to have that to remember
Sure.
what because they have the same password for everything. But so you give the password, and that verifies that it's you and that you're the one that. Now, some people have asked, well, what if someone's in the house with you, forcing you to give the password? They don't know what your password is, so you can give us any other word other than that, and we can treat that as an ambush.
So give a false password.
Give a false password,
Okay.
and we're basically going to say thank you very much, hang up the phone, and we're going to dispatch immediately. And at that point, when we dispatch, what I mean by that is we're contacting police, and we're letting them know this name, this address, here's the door that was breached, here's what's going on, and they're going to go to the house and investigate. A real common question I get with dispatching is, what about false alarms? How does the police treat, or how does Atlas treat false alarms? We don't mind it because we deal with it every day. We're dealing with false alarms constantly. So you can imagine being an operator sitting in front of a screen. That's happening quite a bit, either from a homeowner opening a door or something that's gone wrong. But what we do for that false alarm is we don't charge you. That's not our place to do that. We don't feel like we should penalize you for the service that we're giving you. And so what we do is when we turn it over to the police, if they decide that it's a nuisance or it's becoming a problem, then they can fine you. They can decide not to come if they want to. But we don't let it get to that point. We're not a big corporation. We're a local company that has a great relationship with the local police. So what we try to do is work with that homeowner. There's either one of 2 issues. One, the homeowner isn't properly trained, which we'll get that taken care of. 2, there's some sort of faulty equipment. Maybe it's old equipment. Maybe we need to upgrade it. And so we will do that and basically nip that in the bud. We don't want there to be false alarm fines or anything for you.
Sure,
so we really
sure.
go to bat for you on that. So.
Well, Dan's signaling that we have to go to a break. I can't believe
Gosh,
that
where did this
we went
half
through that half
hour
hour
go?
quickly.
Yeah,
So we're going to
yeah.
take a quick break and join us back here. We're going to give someone a furnace here in just a few minutes.
This is the Wall Street Journal Report. I'm Glenn Crespo. Stocks are higher as investors head towards risky assets following a flat result for November consumer prices, and some big banks receive downgrades. The Dow Jones Industrials are up 84 points at 11,953. The Nasdaq is up 39. S&P up 13. Tim Grisky, Chief Investment Officer with Solaris Assets Management, says shares of Research in Motion down sharply after the BlackBerry maker last evening posted disappointing fourth quarter guidance and said its next generation phones will be delayed.
Tough year for Research in Motion. They're delaying or having to delay the revamp of their phones for a whole nother year. That's a big disappointment to the market.
Today in trading, Research in Motion shares are down 10%. Greenwich, Connecticut-based United Rentals has agreed to buy rival equipment rental company RSC for about $1.9 billion in cash and stock as the equipment rental companies merge. This is the Wall Street Journal Report.
Please listen to this important announcement from Pfizer, the makers of Lipitor, atorvastatin calcium tablets. Pfizer may help you reduce the cost of your monthly Lipitor prescription. For eligible patients, Lipitor is available for as little as $4 a month with the Lipitor copay card. Terms and conditions apply. To learn more, please visit Lipitor.com. See our ad in Cooking Light magazine. Learn more at Lipitor.com or call 1-888-LIPITOR.
For Margaret, we shared a newspaper in a thunderstorm. We raised 3 amazing children. We sang at the piano until the neighbors complained. So here's to making the next 30 years as wonderful as the first. Love, Adam.
When you give the gift of New York Life, you give the most selfless gift of all. New York Life Insurance Company can help you plan a secure retirement so you can spend your retirement years the way you deserve. Contact your New York Life agent or visit us at newyorklife.com.
Here's news on the Ozarks News Network. 3 people are now in custody as the investigation continues into the killing of a teenager who went missing in Ava on Tuesday. The body of 17-year-old Kenny Stout of Republic was found on a logging road near the Ava Country Club. The 3 are said to have known the victim. Fire has badly damaged a home in Willard. The blaze burned off the roof of a home in the 2300 block of North Meadow Drive. The family living there got out all right. And a soldier from Fort Leonard Wood has entered a guilty plea to producing child pornography. 35-year-old Lawrence Elrick admitted to using a child to produce pornography and possession of child pornography. For the Ozarks News Network, I'm Arlen Summers.
Be super at Macy's Super Saturday Sale with morning specials Saturday 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Style & Company Sport Velour Separates now $19.99. Junior's Fine Gauge Sweaters $14.99. 3/4 carat diamond earrings now $299. Take 50% off Clubroom and Alfani dress shirts and 60% off Fun Bella Kitchen Electrics. Morning special Saturday 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Macy's Super Saturday Sale. Savings off regular sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply. See store for details.
This holiday, Barnes & Noble has the gift you can feel great about giving. Nook Simple Touch. It's the world's #1 reader, top rated by expert reviewers, and now it's only $99. With over 2 million titles right at your fingertips, Nook Simple Touch is the must-have gadget for everyone who loves to read. It's the smart, affordable gift. Give the incredible Nook Simple Touch just $99 with free gift wrapping at your neighborhood Barnes & Noble, or visit Nook.com. Hurry while supplies last.
It's the holidays at Old Navy Funnovations Inc. and our Old Navy Deal Grabber is grabbing a special weekend wonder. I wonder what he'll pick up this time. Oh, he got one. Jingle Bells. The Deal Grabbers grabbed a Jingle Jammies Weekend Wonder. All the snuggliest, buggliest jammies are just $7. And boy, do they go great with pancakes and a cup of cocoa. But this snuggly gift deal is only Saturday and Sunday. At Old Navy, come fun, come all.
Select styles only while supplies last.
Missouri's unemployment rate is still too high, and Washington's wasteful spending is only making things worse, racking up huge deficits without creating the new jobs so many families hoped for. After spending hundreds of billions of our tax dollars on a stimulus that failed to create the recovery we need, some in Congress want to spend even more money and raise taxes to pay for it. Senator Claire McCaskill supports increasing taxes on American energy. Not only would that make America less competitive around the world, it would also increase gas prices across Missouri, taking more money from your pocket. And with Washington's track record, does anyone believe that McCaskill's plan for more taxes and spending will actually create jobs? Call Senator McCaskill, 314-367-1364. Tell her that Missouri needs jobs, not more taxes and spending and higher gas prices. Paid for by National Taxpayers Union, NTU.org.
We'll see clouds break for some sunshine today, high 42. Winds from the north 3 to 6 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight, low 24. Mostly sunny and a mild start to the weekend tomorrow, high 52. Low 4 tomorrow night, 29. A mix of clouds and sunshine on Sunday, high 57. There is a chance for rain and a thunderstorm as you head back to work on Monday, high of 50. I'm AccuWeather's Jason Lord.
And the present temperature reading in Springfield, 39 degrees.
Well, I went down to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home Repairs and Solutions.
And you're listening to Home Repairs and Solutions with Mark and Mary, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air Heating and Air Conditioning, your local Amana dealer. And now for the second half of the show, and a very exciting second half of the show, here are your hosts, Mary Pearson and Mark Withers, and their guests for today.
And welcome back, everyone.
It's excitement coming up here.
It is. We are going to draw for the free furnace giveaway. But, before we do that, we had a caller last week, if you were listening in, ask a question about paying your mortgage payments every 2 weeks or twice a month or something. And I think you were going to research that and see if you could come up with an answer of what all that was about.
And I did. I talked to 2 or 3 different people about that. And me and Ron Hartman, who was on last week, we talked about it a couple times. If you take and divide your payments up and you make a payment every 2 weeks, and you can sit down. I got the calendar out and wrote it all down. You actually come up with almost 2 extra payments a year that you've made.
14 payments in 12 months.
Because the way the weeks fall, you're actually, if you make a payment every 2 weeks, then at the end of the year, because of the way everything fell, you're actually making almost 2 more full payments.
So you would take your mortgage amount, cut it in half, and pay that amount every 2 weeks.
If you wanted to pay it on the 1st, and whatever exactly 2 weeks was from that, paid it then. 2 weeks from that, paid it then. Don't look at the
calendar.
Don't look at the calendar. Just paying on the 1st and the 15th. Just pay it every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, you're going to be amazed at what you did.
There you go. There you go. That's called discipline.
And that's what I lack. Is discipline.
And sometimes that's not real fun to do, but if someone was really trying to get their mortgage paid off fairly quickly and do it in a fairly easy manner instead of trying to make 2 payments into the year or something and kind of spread it out, it would be
if you're disciplined enough where you can do
absolutely.
that, be a good way to do it.
Absolutely, and you would definitely benefit from doing that.
Yes.
So there's the answer to the question.
Yep.
Anyway, I hope that gentleman's listening today. So what we're going to do now is we are going to shuffle the names that we have in our little drawing. And to be completely fair, I'm going to push this pile over to Mark.
Okay.
And we're going to let Mark draw the winner of the
I'm going to close my eyes now. I know y'all can't see this, but my eyes are closed.
He's doing this. He's being very fair.
Okay.
He's got one. And it looks like the winner of the free furnace is Greg Lafferty. Greg Lafferty. Congratulations. And we will be giving you a call later today to set up a time to come out, see what size of furnace you need, and schedule a time to put that in for you. So congratulations, Greg. And to all the other people who entered and for bringing donations to Buy to Crosslines, we thank you so much for doing that and for giving to Crosslines, who helps our local community here as well. So thank you so much for that. And it was a fun promotion.
Well, I want to thank Spring Mountain Air for doing this. You guys, and I've said this a time or two before, you guys just amaze me in what you do for the community. And that's
thanks, Mark.
It's a shame that all the businesses can't do that, and I know some can't, but you guys do. You just take the time and the initiative to do it, and that's wonderful. It's great, folks.
We'd like to help out when we can. Wish we could do more, but
we all do. Yeah,
we do what we can, and
it's very much appreciated what you do. So.
Well, thank you again, everyone, for entering the contest, and congratulations again to Greg. So.
Yep.
Now we're gonna get back to our show.
Yes, we are.
We're gonna talk to Sam, and during the break, I thought of a question. Oftentimes when you're dealing with businesses now and you're calling someone for customer service, or if you have a question about your bill, or whatever the case may be, you're not sure where you're calling. You might be calling Taiwan or New York or all over the place. So one of my questions to Sam was, okay, when this alarm goes off, where does this signal go to? Where is your call center that is monitoring the calls for you guys?
Springfield, Missouri. So it's right here.
Springfield, Missouri. There you go.
Yeah, and it's not some other company in Springfield, Missouri. It's us. We have our own central station. And a lot of people, just like the DMP thing I made earlier, the comment I made earlier about, since it's Springfield, it must be small and it's mom and pop and it's not, legitimate. We are a UL listed central station. And some people know what UL is, some people don't.
I was going to say, what does that mean?
Yeah, the most common thing I can tell you is on your hairdryer, on anything that plugs in, you'll see a little sticker basically on there, and it says UL with a little circle around it. Basically, that's a standard company. You know, they basically go into anything that, you know, electrical or anything like that you know, could be a hazard, and they're going to double check that standard. They're going to run a comb through it and just make sure that everything is in its place. Well, they do the same thing every year with our central station. We actually have them come in. We don't have to be, by the way, we don't have to be a UL listed central station. The reason why we are is because it allows us to monitor banks, jewelry stores, insurance companies. But what's nice about that for a homeowner is you're being monitored by a UL listed central station. Most people don't know if they go with brand B of a security company that they don't know, am I being monitored locally? Am I being monitored by a UL listed central station? So it kind of gives me peace of mind for myself that the same central station that's monitoring me is monitoring several large banks here in the area. So kind of gives me that, you know, that nice feeling. But, you know, to expand on that a little bit more, you know, we're UL listed, but we're also most people haven't heard of this terminology, but CSAA, Central Station Association, Alarm Association. We're a 5-diamond central station, which people are like, what's 5-diamond? Well, it means that all of our operators are up to a certain standard of training as well. So not only does UL come in and check our procedures, our personnel, our hardware, our software, and make sure we're all up to a certain standard, but we're also, and we don't have to be, but we're a 5-diamond central station. So all of our operators are also trained at a certain level to be able to handle all kinds of different types of alarms. So that's big in the industry. We monitor 11,000 accounts. I've got that written down here because I got a note from my central station manager, John Adams. And what's interesting is a lot of people think, oh, you're local and you monitor your own accounts. Well, Atlas Central Station is so well known that we actually monitor 54 other dealers that are like us that don't have their own central stations.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people don't know that, but that's in 37 different states. So out of our 11,000 accounts, 7,000 of those are actually other dealers. 4,000 are local, you know, Atlas accounts.
Right.
So over, you know, almost double what we monitor for other companies as well. Also people think, okay, what else is set in place? We have redundancy set in place, so all of our receivers that our alarm signals come into, there's an actual duplicate receiver for every one of those in place in case something happens and goes wrong. We also have a duplicate central station that people don't know about that's located in a different location that we don't talk about where that is, because if something were to happen, our central station, like a natural disaster or something like that, that's the most common question. Well, you have a local central station, that's great, but what if we have an ice storm like we did before, and what if that takes out your central station? What if now we have a couple things set in place. One, we have backup central station, but two, we obviously have generators at our location to help with that, and we have to use those from time to time with power outages and things like that. One other interesting thing I'll point out about our central station is most people don't know is that response time is amazing with our central station. I just got some numbers from my central station manager recently on up-to-date numbers. But our response times to fire, hold-up, medicals is 23 seconds or less. That's the time from the signal goes off till we have you on the phone. Now, burglary is 38 seconds, and the reason for that is fire, hold-up, and medical take priority over a burglary signal, you know, life safety, some of those things. So, give you an idea, the industry standard across the nation is to respond within 1 minute. That's what they're asking for.
Oh, my
1
gosh.
minute. So, we respond within 38 seconds to a burglary, 23 seconds on the fire.
That's a lot faster.
A lot faster. And see, that's the standard. Most central stations don't even hit that number. It's much, much longer. And some of the reasons for that is that there'll be what's called the dialer delay built into their panels. So most people don't know this because they're not asking.
Right.
But there's things built in there to where, to cut down on their false alarms, they put a minute dialer delay, which means, Mark, if your system were to go off and it weren't a system with us, it may take 1 minute for it to actually, once the siren goes off, it'll hold that signal for 1 minute before it actually sends it to the central station.
Wow.
And the reason why they do that is, like I said, to cut down on those false alarms.
Right.
And I think that's wrong. Ours is set at 0. So when our alarm goes off and your siren starts going, boom, it's automatically sending that signal to us, which allows us to respond in the amount of time that we do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is, and a minute doesn't really sound like a long time, but if someone's in your
Well, I
house,
tell you
or
what,
if you're,
yeah.
a minute can be a long time
Yes,
if
it
you're
can.
in need of assistance.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I was saying the average is the 38 seconds. That's just an average. I mean, I've set off my system at home before. I've had a call within 6 seconds. I'm not promising that that's going to happen, but it depends on what's happening at the moment as far as what they're handling. If they're handling a fire alarm, it may take them a little bit longer to get to it, but we're very quick about that, and we stay on top of that. So
you're talking about fire alarm coverage. Is that something that people can get in addition to the that you can provide?
That's a great point. Yeah, we do burglary like we've been talking about, but we also do fire, and that's a very, very important part of what we do. So we can do a fire system in your home. We can add as little as 1 smoke detector, or we can go and add 8 smoke detectors if you wanted more coverage. We do heat detectors and carbon monoxide and natural gas detectors, and basically if you can think of it, if there's something you want to detect, we can probably come up with it. Water sensors, we do for several like blood banks, we'll do temperature sensors, so if something falls below a certain temperature, it notifies, and so that we can actually, wherever there's blood or organs or things like that from medical type facilities. So there's a lot of different things that we can do and offer. And so, I'll touch on that, I guess. We do burglary, fire. Another part of our business is access control, which limits access within a building. You've probably all seen that, where you go into a bank and you see a guy, beep into a door or buzz through a door. We do that. And we also do full camera systems as well. And one other interesting thing about us I'll point out is, we're local and we do have that central station, but I want to let you know we're a full-service security company. So we design the system, we install the system, we service the system, we monitor the system. So we're doing all
the
parts,
system.
and the manufacturer with the EMP. So there's many and all of the different areas. We're not subcontracting some other company to come in and do that for us. We're able to do all of that for you. So it's very, very interesting.
That is great. I don't know very many companies in Springfield that do it all in Springfield.
No. Right.
I think that is just amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Absolutely. One question I had, you mentioned the video surveillance or security.
Yeah.
Who actually monitors that?
Well, that's interesting too, because like in certain states, like I believe California has to have what's called video verification. Missouri hasn't got there yet. What that means for video verification is, say a burglary signal comes into an Alarm Central station, they have to have video verification, meaning that the Alarm Central station is actually looking at video and then making the decision, like that looks like a burglar, so I need to go ahead and, so it's kind of video verification that someone's broken in to kind of cut down on false alarms.
Right.
Missouri hasn't quite gotten there yet, so really when we're installing camera systems, we're not necessarily monitoring them for the customer. What we're doing is we're installing a camera system that's kind of a supplement to the burglary system that's provided for the homeowner or for the business owner, that if something does happen, that footage is recorded on a DVR.
Right. Okay.
And so then they can go back and review that footage and then provide it to the police. Now, we can help them recover that footage, and a DVR is kind of the latest thing. You remember there used to be VCR tapes that everybody would record on.
Yeah.
DVR is kind of the new thing. It's just very similar to like what you would use for your recording your shows at home, like a hard drive, basically. The problem with the DVR sometimes is it is still a piece of equipment. So if someone steals that piece of equipment and finds it and the alarm doesn't go off and they find that equipment, they could potentially take it. So what the latest trend has been an HVR, where it's hosted video, which means it's constantly uploading that video to an off-site location. So it's being hosted on a server outside of the location.
So if they steal the camera, they don't necessarily steal the footage.
Right. Well, and the DVR, where it's recorded, the DVR. Yeah. If they steal the DVR, then yeah, they would not. The footage would be able to be recovered and still be used.
Wow.
So it's interesting how technology has kind of advanced.
I would not want to try and be a thief.
You know
You're
what?
going to get caught.
You know what amazes me? I don't know whether you've seen this the other day, but the guy who goes in one of the banks here in town and robs it.
It's like he
posed
for the photograph.
I know, and it's like, gosh, well, I think people know that the technology is out there and people can see them, so why even worry about trying to cover up? I'm going to rob the bank. I'm just going to go in and take my chances of doing it. I mean, how
guess.
stupid can you get? And
I
just
don't
like the poor lady who got punched over at Macy's.
Yes.
And it's so sad that people do that.
Yeah.
Thank God for the video cameras.
Yeah.
There, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, you're going to get caught. So
but you're gonna
pick a
get
different
caught.
profession.
Yeah, exactly.
And
You know?
fortunately, most of these criminals are not very smart.
Yeah. That's
and
apparent.
So
Right.
Well,
usually
yeah.
a lot of our systems kind of hopefully can outsmart them by using the different things like cellular and using cameras and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, we're not necessarily dealing with, some mastermind, criminal necessarily in Springfield, but normally it's the fly by night kind of guys that we're just trying to keep Springfield, a safer, place, one house and business at a time.
I think it's wonderful what you guys are doing. I know just installed a system in my Uncle Russ's house just a few days ago because they were going to church. And somebody comes by and kicks their front door in. Luckily, they didn't get very much, but they could have.
Yeah.
And but now if they try it again, they're going to get caught.
Yep.
And luckily, they weren't there when that happened because now you have a whole nother issue. If the homeowner's home and someone comes in, now you have a potentially life-threatening issue because you don't know what that person that's breaking in is going to do if he finds someone at home. Right. So, I just it's just better to be safe than sorry.
And another point that I'd like to make that you talked about was on the fire. I lost our kids lost their home and everything to a fire a few months ago, and smoke detectors saved their life. There's no doubt about that. And that's what they're designed to do, is wake you up and get you out of the house.
Yeah.
But you all the time can't maybe get to your phone, or your cell phone's in the other room.
Sure.
You can't run and get it because your house is on fire.
Yeah.
This way, the fire department gets contacted, just bam, like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really important right there.
Well, that's a great point that you bring up. I actually trained to be a firefighter prior to coming on to Atlas, so I went through firefighter training. And one of the things I remember learning in that was one of the studies that was done about smoke detectors in your home that necessarily aren't alarm smokes, but just your regular electrician or your battery-operated smokes you buy from Lowe's or something like that. The frequency on those that they're emitting the sound to actually wake you up, there's been studies done that kids, adults, different people sleep through that sound, whether they're in a deep sleep or they can't hear it. And so one thing that's interesting about us as far as like some of the different things that we do with fire is our smoke detectors not only have built-in sounders, but our siren will be going off in addition to that, which is at a different frequency. And then our keypad will be beeping at a different frequency. So we've got 3 different sounds going at one time, which hopefully helps make that loud enough sound for everybody to hear in the home. But then the most important thing is, like you just mentioned, it's calling someone. So, your smoke detectors in your home are great. I tell people, I said, that's great, have those.
Right.
But at least put 1 or 2 of ours in the house because that gives that earlier warning. And it's like, wouldn't you hate to sleep through a fire?
Oh, yeah,
and no one's
absolutely.
being contacted. And like you said, you can't get to your phone. And, another little point about fire is it can help with your homeowner's insurance, with putting in a monitored smoke detector. So when we do burglary systems, we send over a certificate to the homeowner's insurance. And then if they have fire, they get usually an additional discount on that because of fire monitoring. And so there's a lot of pluses with adding fire and doing that to the systems. So.
I think it's great.
Well, we're about to run out of time. Dan Seelin, we got about 3 minutes left, but I had a quick question. We're talking about all these different things, like we're talking burglar monitoring, fire, cameras, all this stuff. Does all of that stuff go through one central keypad, or do you have to have different, or whatever what do you call those? Keypads?
Yeah, keypad.
Do they all go
panel.
Do they all go through the same one, or do you have to have different ones for each different thing you're trying to monitor?
That's a great question. Our alarm systems, our control panels can do all 3 in one. And when I say 3, burglary, fire, and access control from one panel.
Okay.
A lot of alarm companies will sell you multiple panels for different things. So they sell you a burglary system and you have a burglary panel, which you're paying a monthly fee on. So then they sell you a fire system and you're paying a monthly fee on that, And typically that's more commercial, not as much residential.
Okay.
Commercial sometimes will split those apart and have like a burglary and a fire system, and then they don't even realize they're paying 2 monthly fees. And sometimes when we come into it, we can let them know, hey, we can put that into one panel. You can pay 1 monthly fee. We can actually save you money because our panels are commercially UL listed for both. And in addition to that, we can do access control off of that too. So that actually helps the homeowner save money. And that's just one other way to save. Another thing too I'll mention is the product that we use at DMP is backwards compatible. A lot of people that are technology savvy understand that term, but what that means is if you've ever experienced this, you buy a bunch of components of whether it's computer or whatever it is, and in 5 years you've got to replace one thing because it breaks. Well, usually they tell you, well, you've got to replace everything. With DMP, it's backwards compatible, meaning if you have a control panel back from the 80s and you replace maybe the keypad goes bad in 10 years, well, you can just replace the keypad, which is very interesting.
Cool.
So they've done more engineering to do that, so it helps.
Well, we have 1 minute left, and something I noticed is you have not given out any of your contact information. So if our listeners want to call you, they're going to need to know how to get a hold of you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Atlas Security. We're located at 1309 East Republic Road. That's between Fremont and National. We're on the south side of the street. Most people are familiar with Aries Pizza. We're right across the street from Aries Pizza, so that's a good location for us. But then our phone number is 831-2866. That's just our main office number. Feel free to ask for me, Sam Blaine. My direct extension is super easy to remember. It's 123.
Wow.
Thanks so much for being on the show today, Sam. This was very interesting.
Thank you very
I hope
much.
our listeners learned a lot, and I hope some of them that don't have security will give you a call.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Definitely come back and visit us again.
I will.
Love to having you on. Well, this is Home Repairs and Solutions. We're heard every Friday morning from 10 to 11 right here on AM 560 KWTO.